At exactly 3 a.m., while most of the world slept, the night sky over western Russia erupted into fire. 4 Ukrainian Neptune cruise missiles sliced through the early morning darkness, flying low, fast, and undetected, until they struck their target, a major Russian missile production factory deep inside Russian territory. Within seconds, the quiet night transformed into a scene of chaos and destruction. Flames shot hundreds of meters into the air. The ground shook as secondary explosions ripped through fuel tanks and ammunition depots. For miles around, witnesses described an orange glow visible even from nearby towns. It was not just another air raid. This was a message. The strike, reportedly coordinated by Ukrainian intelligence and guided by advanced Western surveillance data, marked one of Kyiv's boldest operations of the war. This was not a strike on the front lines, nor a tactical hit on a supply convoy. This was a strategic assault. Deep inside the Russian heartland, aimed at crippling the very factory that built the missiles raining down daily on Ukrainian cities. Satellite images released hours later showed total devastation. Warehouses reduced to ash, production halls collapsed into smoking rubble, and craters so large they could swallow a bus. According to preliminary assessments, the target was a missile assembly plant responsible for producing guidance systems and propulsion components for Russia's Kalibr and Iskander missile families. These precision weapons have been the backbone of Moscow's long-range campaign against Ukrainian infrastructure. Their loss represents a major setback to Russia's strike capabilities, and Ukrainian officials wasted no time in calling it a decisive blow to the Kremlin's war machine. Defense analysts quickly took notice. One former NATO intelligence officer described the strike as a masterclass in precision warfare. The Ukrainian Neptune missile, once designed primarily for naval defense, had been upgraded and adapted for land-based strikes. Originally intended to sink Russian warships, it now proved capable of taking out hardened ground targets hundreds of kilometers away. This evolution of Ukraine's indigenous weapons technology demonstrates not just ingenuity, but strategic sophistication, a clear signal that Kyiv is no longer merely defending itself, but taking the fight directly to the source of Russian aggression. In Kyiv, senior officials briefed the media early that morning. A spokesperson for Ukraine's Ministry of Defense declared, "The Neptune has found its new purpose. Every missile we launch carries a message. We can reach you anywhere." That statement reverberated across social media and international news outlets, igniting conversations about how Ukraine's military capabilities continue to evolve despite relentless Russian bombardments and limited resources. Meanwhile, inside Russia, confusion and panic spread rapidly. Local authorities in the affected region initially claimed that an industrial fire had occurred. But as videos began to surface online showing massive explosions, streaks of incoming missiles, and the distinct roar of a Neptune's turbojet engine, the truth became undeniable. By sunrise, the Russian Ministry of Defense was forced to admit that a Ukrainian long-range precision strike had taken place, though it attempted to downplay the damage, calling it limited. Yet satellite confirmation told a different story. The factory was gone. For Russia, this was more than just a military loss. It was an embarrassment. The attack site had been considered secure, far beyond the reach of Ukrainian weapons. Its destruction calls into question Moscow's ability to protect key military assets even within its own borders. Analysts believe the strike may prompt the Kremlin to relocate or further disperse its remaining missile production lines, adding logistical strain to an already overstretched defense industry. International reactions came swiftly. In Washington, officials privately hailed the attack as a turning point, showcasing Ukraine's growing strategic reach. European leaders, while cautious, noted that Kyiv has the right under international law to strike legitimate military targets threatening its security. In contrast, Moscow's response was predictably furious. Russian state television vowed retaliation, calling the strike an act of terrorism. Yet behind the bluster, insiders say the Kremlin is deeply alarmed by Ukraine's newfound capability to hit so far and so accurately. The Neptune missile system, originally unveiled by Ukraine in 2020, was derived from Soviet-era technology but extensively modernized with local components and Western electronics. With a range exceeding 400 kilometers, the modified variant used in this operation was likely equipped with an upgraded guidance package, possibly incorporating satellite and terrain-following capabilities. Ukrainian engineers have spent the past 2 years refining the missile's precision, enabling it to hit not just ships at sea, but static, high-value targets on land, a development that has dramatically expanded Ukraine's strategic options. Military experts are calling this operation a symbolic turning point in the war. Since the beginning of the Russian invasion, Ukraine has faced an overwhelming disparity in long-range strike weapons. While Russia has fired thousands of cruise missiles at Ukrainian infrastructure, Ukraine had only limited retaliatory options. But with this strike, the tables have turned. Kyiv has demonstrated that it can now reach deep into Russia's industrial heart, not just defending, but counterpunching with lethal accuracy. Reports indicate that the attack was meticulously planned. Ukrainian reconnaissance drones likely conducted initial surveillance of the factory days before the strike. Satellite intelligence from Western allies may have provided real-time confirmation of production activity, ensuring that the missiles hit when the factory was operational. The strike window at 3 a.m. was chosen deliberately when Russian air defenses are less alert and night shifts are minimal, maximizing tactical surprise while minimizing casualties among civilian workers. Eyewitness accounts from nearby towns paint a vivid picture. Residents described hearing a sudden thunderous boom followed by a chain of smaller detonations that lasted nearly 20 minutes. One witness told a local outlet, "The sky turned red like dawn came early. The air smelled of burning fuel and metal." Another described shockwaves that shattered windows even several kilometers away. Videos circulating on Telegram captured the moment of impact. 4 bright streaks arcing downward, followed by an enormous fireball that consumed the horizon. Within hours, emergency crews rushed to the scene, but the fire proved uncontrollable. Russian firefighters reportedly battled the inferno for over 6 hours, unable to approach due to ongoing ammunition detonations. Drone footage later revealed nothing but smoldering wreckage, twisted steel beams, collapsed walls, and charred machinery. Experts reviewing the imagery concluded that the factory is beyond repair. For Ukraine, this operation carries enormous strategic and psychological value. Not only has it struck a blow to Russia's missile production capabilities, but it has also sent a message of deterrence. For months, Russia has launched relentless missile attacks against Ukrainian cities, targeting energy grids, hospitals, and residential areas. This strike flips the narrative. The aggressor's own factories are now vulnerable. It signals to Moscow that no target, however deep inside its territory, is truly safe anymore. The psychological effect is equally significant. For the Ukrainian people, weary after years of war, this strike serves as a moment of empowerment. Proof that their country can fight back effectively. Social media lit up with messages of pride and defiance. Memes circulated showing the Neptune missile as a ghost of vengeance while citizens celebrated what many called a night of justice. In contrast, Russian online communities expressed shock and anger. Some demanded answers from the Kremlin about how Ukrainian missiles could penetrate so far. Others questioned the effectiveness of Russia's vaunted air defense systems, such as the S-400, which were supposedly deployed in the region. The attack has fueled growing public frustration within Russia, highlighting vulnerabilities that the government has long tried to conceal. Strategically, analysts believe this strike will have ripple effects on the battlefield. Without steady supplies of missile components, Russia may face delays in replenishing its long-range arsenal. This could reduce the frequency of missile barrages against Ukrainian cities, giving Kyiv's defenders valuable breathing room. Additionally, it may force Moscow to divert resources from the front lines to protect industrial sites, further stretching its military capabilities. But beyond the immediate impact, this operation reveals something deeper, a shift in Ukraine's military doctrine. Kyiv is no longer content to simply endure and respond. It is now proactively degrading Russia's war-making capacity, targeting infrastructure, command centers, and logistics hubs well beyond the battlefield. Each strike like this not only weakens the enemy's capability, but also undermines the illusion of Russian invulnerability. In the hours following the attack, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the nation in a brief but powerful statement. Without directly claiming responsibility, he said, "When darkness falls, light will always find its way. Those who build death will one day be consumed by it." His words were widely interpreted as a reference to the strike, and his calm, confident tone reinforced Ukraine's growing sense of momentum. International observers are now debating what comes next. Will Russia retaliate with a massive wave of missile strikes? Will Ukraine continue to target Russian defense facilities? Or could this escalation bring both sides closer to a new phase of the conflict, one defined not just by territory, but by industrial warfare and strategic reach? As dawn broke over the smoldering remains of the Russian missile factory, the scale of the damage became fully visible. Twisted remains of assembly lines, shattered control rooms, and the blackened shell of the main warehouse told the story of precision and power. For Ukraine, the message was simple. The tools of destruction used against them can and will be destroyed in return. This 3:00 a.m. strike will likely be remembered as a turning point, not just for its physical destruction, but for what it represents: the awakening of Ukrainian long-range deterrence. The Neptune missiles have become symbols of innovation, resilience, and defiance. Against overwhelming odds, Ukraine has managed to hit the very heart of the machine that once sought to crush it. As the smoke clears, one thing is certain: the balance of fear has shifted. No longer can Russia assume its war industries lie safely beyond reach. No longer can it strike without consequence. The message from Kyiv is unmistakable. We can reach you wherever you are, and when we strike with purpose. The echoes of that 3 a.m. explosion will continue to reverberate across the Russian military, across global intelligence circles, and across the hearts of millions who now see that the tide of this war is slowly but unmistakably turning.